Hey guys, how you doing? Today we're taking a close look at the brand new Apple Watch Series 11, and more specifically, we're going to compare the two different sizes that Apple offers this year. Just like in the past, you can choose between a smaller version and a larger one. And this time around, we have a 42mm model and the bigger 46mm model. At first glance, you might think that the difference is not too big and that both watches basically offer the same features. But once you put them on your wrist, the choice becomes a lot more important than you might expect. So in this video, I will show you both versions, how they look on my wrist and off of my wrist. We'll go through the specs and the current prices. And at the end, I will share my personal recommendation based on my wrist size, which is 19 centimeters. So let's start by talking about the overall design and the specs. And both watches use Apple's brand new S10 chip, and they run on watchOS 26 with the exact same health features, fitness tracking, sensors and apps. There's no difference in terms of what they can do. The only difference are really the physical size, the display, the weight and how they feel on your wrist. The smaller Apple Watch Series 11 comes with a 42 by 36mm case that is 9.7mm thick. The display itself measures 1.77 inches and has a resolution of 374 by 446 pixels, giving you a display area of just under 1000 square millimeters. The larger model has a 46 by 39mm case that is also 9.7mm thick, but obviously wider and taller. The display grows to 1.96 inches with a resolution of 416 by 496 pixels, which equals around 1200 square millimeters of display area. So the larger version simply gives you more space and more information at a glance. In terms of weight, there's also a difference. The smaller aluminum version of the 42mm model weighs in about 30 grams without the strap, while the larger 46mm aluminum model comes in at around 38 grams. Now on paper, that might not sound like much, but on your wrist you can definitely feel the bigger model a little bit more, especially during your workouts or while sleeping. Personally, I don't find it uncomfortable, but the difference is noticeable. Now let's quickly touch on the prices because that's always one important factor. According to Apple's official store, the base Apple Watch Series 11 in the 42mm aluminum case with GPS starts at 449 euros here in Germany. And the larger 46mm aluminum case costs a bit more. Depending on whether you want to GPS only or GPS with cellular, you will pay around 30 to 120 euros more for the bigger size. If you go for the titanium instead of the aluminum, the price difference can be even larger, but that applies equal to both sizes. So while you're getting the same features inside, you do have to pay extra for the larger model. With those hard numbers out of the way, let's get into the part that actually matters the most. How do these watches feel on your wrist and off your wrist? And off your wrist, you have to put them side by side. They look almost identical besides the obvious difference in size. Both have the same digital crown on the right side and the same flat button just below it. The thickness is identical and the overall design language is exactly the same. It's only when you strap them onto your wrist that you really start to notice the difference. I've been testing both models on my 19cm wrist, which is fairly average or a little bit larger, and I can say right away that the 46mm version just looks better proportioned. It fills out my whole wrist without looking oversized, and the bigger screen really makes it easier to read notifications, messages, or even just to check the time at a glance. The smaller 42mm version will still look sleek, but almost disappears on my wrist. For people who prefer a more discreet watch, this might actually be a positive thing, but for me personally, it feels too small and just doesn't match my wrist size. Another detail that plays into this is the strap. The smaller version usually comes with a strap that fits to wrists of a size from 130 to 200 millimeters, while the larger version is designed for wrists between 140 to 245 millimeters. Now on my 19cm wrist, both actually look alright. The band of the smaller 42mm version may not be as wide, but it still looks good on my bigger wrist. I've also got the fabric straps this time, which I really like a lot since you can fit them better on your wrist. You also don't have the problem with the solar loop band to first find the correct size for your wrist. By the way, the band of the smaller watch doesn't fit on the bigger watch and vice versa. By the way, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to my channel for more tech reviews. You will also find the link to the smartwatches down below in the description. And now let's talk about practical differences in the display. While both watches use the same LTP OLED technology with up to 2000 nits of brightness and an always-on display support, the extra space on the 46mm version really makes a difference in day-to-day usage. Reading messages is the most obvious example. On the larger model, a WhatsApp notification or an email shows more words at once, so you don't have to scroll as much. I actually counted in one of my tests. In a typical search result for Siri, the larger display shows about 6 to 8 more words than the smaller one before you need to scroll down, but it also depends on the length of the words, of course. For messaging apps like WhatsApp, you can often see 2 to 3 extra lines of text compared to the smaller screen, which makes a big difference if you rely on your watch to quickly glance at a conversation. But besides the difference in text, the two watches are basically the same. All of the other apps basically give you the same amount of information. Yes, sometimes you see a little bit more in the system settings or in the app store, but the difference is barely noticeable and doesn't give you a big advantage compared to the smaller version. The health apps look the same, the workouts look the same, and all of the other apps as well. Just the icons are a little bit bigger on the larger watch. Of course, there are some trade-offs. The larger model is heavier and takes up more space on your wrist. So if you have a smaller wrist, let's say under 17 centimeters, the big version might actually look oversized and uncomfortable. The smaller 42mm version, on the other hand, is more compact, lighter, and easier to wear if you prefer a subtle watch that doesn't attract too much attention. So here's my recommendation. If your wrist size is 17 centimeters or larger, go with the 46mm version. It simply fits better, looks more balanced, and gives you the benefit of a larger screen and a longer strap. If your wrist is smaller than 17 centimeters, the 42mm version will be more comfortable and better proportioned. Since my own wrist is 19 centimeters, the larger model is the obvious choice for me, and I honestly think that the watch feels more premium and more practical. So to sum it all up, the Apple Watch Series 11 is the same great smartwatch no matter which size you pick, but the size does affect your comfort, readability, and overall appearance on your wrist. The 46mm costs a little bit more but gives you more screen and a better fit for a large wrist, while the 42mm keeps things light, compact, and elegant for those with a smaller wrist. Now, at the end of the day, it really comes down to your personal preference, but if you can't try them both on in the store, my rule of thumb is simply above 17 centimeters, go for the bigger one, below 17 centimeters, go with the smaller one. Now let me know down below in the comments what size you're getting and what is your wrist size. This would help anyone that wants to get an Apple Watch and don't know their size yet. And guys, there we have it. So I guess I will see you in the next one. Peace.